25. I think I'm going to go myself. I planned several trips, but the kids keep having babies right about the time we're going to go, and that's not a fun place.
That kind of trumps that.
Yes. Hello, Daniel.
Afternoon, Judge.
Tim stopped in for a minute. I think she's going to admit.
He's talking to her in the hallway right now.
Yes. Not a whole lot to argue on it.
Maybe a little updating. Well, good afternoon, everyone. They're saying hello to all of you. Let's get going. Pretty close to starting time. This is file 222056SD. People versus Carla Andrea Sanchez Garcia. That's you?
Yes.
And you're here with your lawyer, Mr. Tim George. Your probation officer, Daniel Frazine, is here. You were convicted of a drinking driving offense. I remember this case. The actual date of the offense was just about a year ago, October 23rd. You pled guilty and you were sentenced in December. Then we had a probation violation because you drove to court and weren't truthful about it. And then we continued your probation in January. Daniel has filed a petition to violate your probation, to terminate it. He alleges that you were placed on probation in December of 2022 for operating while intoxicated. He says you failed not to violate any criminal law of any unit of government. You got arrested for a drinking driving charge in Indiana, and that is the #1 rule of probation. Failed to pay fines and costs, failed to abstain from the use of alcohol or drugs, failed to participate in treatment, and failed to abstain from driving. I think we already dealt with that, but you were driving in Indiana when you got arrested for that. So we had a probation violation on August 30th, and I spoke with you. I don't remember what happened, but we ended up doing that on September 13th. You pled not guilty, even though you admitted you got arrested in Indiana. I appointed an attorney for you, and we set the matter for further hearing today. So this is the time and date for hearing on this. As you see, Daniel has made a pretty significant recommendation here. The original judgment from last December or 12 days credit 1, leaving 11 days to serve. And I deferred 10 of those days. You ended up getting 2 for the first violation, but I hung some jail over your head. He's recommending that I impose that and additional jail time. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here, but the first thing I want to know, Mr. George, are we going to have a hearing, or is your defendant going to acknowledge that she violated at least by getting arrested on the new charge in Indiana?
Your Honor, I think my client would acknowledge, obviously she got arrested for a new charge in Indiana, which would also presume that she had been drinking and driving at that time. And I think that I know Dan has laid out with specifics in his status report all of the violations. My client would acknowledge that there were 2 times where she didn't submit to a test. So it may not be every single thing that has been alleged in the petition, but I think it likely gets us to where we need to be in order.
Well, I get we don't need to admit every single violation. Just 1 would be sufficient. Did you get arrested in Indiana after you were placed on this probation?
Yes.
And were you driving a car at that time?
Yes.
What county was that in?
St. Joseph?
Which is South Bend?
Alfred.
Okay.
Yeah, it isn't confusing enough. They have the county of St. Joseph, the city of St. Joseph, which is the capital county seat of Berrien County. Directly south of that is St. Joe County, Indiana. So St. Joseph got a lot of airtime over here in this corner of the world. All right, and you pled to what charge in Elkhart?
The OWI.
All right. Those are sufficient. Now, Ms. Sanchez, you don't have to admit, you could have a hearing on these if you wish, and I'd have to find beyond the preponderance that you violated any of those terms of probation. Frankly, it wouldn't be very hard to prove it, but I do appreciate the fact that you're acknowledging it. So you admit that you violated your probation by at least those three conditions. All right, whenever I see you, you're like this. You're very polite, very respectful, very humble. That night on the tape, you were, of course, you were drunk. You were very belligerent. Then you drove to court and lied about it, but you were scared. So I'm not sure what to do. Mr. George informed me you were working at Morgan Olson.
Right.
Tell me about that.
I've been there for like 5-6 months now.
What shift?
First.
What are you doing for daycare?
Well, my mom sends my daughter to school. I have somebody that takes her. So she gets out at 3:30, and then my dad normally picks her up.
Well, it's good to have help. What grade is she in?
She's in first.
She was in the car that night in October. All right. What else would you like me to know, Mr. George?
Well, thank you, Your Honor. Well, I think at this point, and we haven't directly talked about this, but I think it kind of goes without saying that my client's not even 30 years old, and she's at a crossroads where there was the incident that led her into court here, and then obviously the new case in Indiana with the prior history of minor possessions and possession of marijuana. There is a substance abuse issue there that has to be addressed. And fortunately, it hasn't been to a point where anybody has been hurt or killed, but we're kind of starting to snowball down a road that if we don't get control of it, it's going to turn into something that my client doesn't really want to have in her life. As the court said, she does work at Morgan Olson. She's been there for about 6 months, does have the young child that lives with her at home. I know Dan's frustrated with the way that this probation has gone. It just bleeds through the status report. But it's my understanding there's going to be supervision down in Indiana as a result of the new charge. And hopefully she can get plugged into resources throughout that probation and get this under control. As it relates to this case, Your Honor, I know there were 9 deferred days that the court ordered. We would ask that the court only impose those 9 days and not the extra 30 days. There's going to be punishment on the other side in Indiana as well. And if the court would oblige that she could do that on the weekend so she doesn't lose her job and can make sure that she has childcare for that time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Daniel, what's your thought?
Well, I have spoke with them, and they're doing nothing as a result of what you do here today. And that, in my opinion, they're not really doing anything as a result of a new charge.
Has she been convicted?
Yes.
Has she been sentenced?
Yes.
Okay, I was under the impression she hadn't yet been
Yes,
sentenced.
they are doing a 12-month probation, and they're basically letting everything be done through here. I was really kind of shocked. I even said to her, I said, "You guys do know that this was her second drunk drive?" And they're like, "Yeah." She got 1 day in jail. I said, "Well, are you guys going to make her do a substance abuse assessment?" And they're like, "No." I was really shocked at what they were not doing down there. And I said, "Well, she is going to get a probation violation here. And then what?" She goes, "Well, whatever you guys do, you do. And that'll be it. They're not going to sanction her down there because it had nothing to do with down there. That was all after the fact as far as they're concerned. So she won't have any additional."
Yeah, she wasn't.
Right.
What she did violated our probation.
Correct.
She hasn't done anything wrong since they sentenced her.
I had as soon as she told me about this, what she was told to tell me immediately, and she didn't tell me immediately after she got the new charge, but I did find out about it, and she did tell me eventually. I immediately told her she had to do 2 meetings a week, get a substance abuse assessment. She has not done any of those. She hasn't attended 1 meeting. They're not requiring her to do that. So, and she still, when you talk to her about certain things, she still has like excuses. I'm like, well, you went down there, you thought, oh, I'll just go to a restaurant with my sister. I have an open intox. I get pulled over for drunk driving. And it was still it just reminded me of what happened the day of her sentencing here. It was very blasé, and I just think that she either thinks she's above it, or she just, I don't even know what she's thinking, because I can't comprehend how you can be so blasé about a second drunk driving. But that's what I get. And what I'm worried about is if we don't send a strong message, and I think that the days I'm recommending are easily justified here, then it's going to take her longer. I think eventually she'll be back. I'm hoping we can send enough of a message to her to wake her up, because I don't think she's even woken up after her second drunk driving. I know her ex has the kid a lot, and her parents help a lot, so there is someone that can take care of her kid while she is sitting in jail. But I just think we gave her 2 days for when she came to court, and then lied about it and lied to the officer that followed her out to the parking lot. We gave her 2 days for that, but even following that, very shortly, not even 2 weeks later, she had a refusal. And then this just snowballed into another drunk driving. So I think we need to send her a message so we can try to protect society and protect her from herself, because I don't think anything I've said has impacted her at all. That's what my biggest concern is. I just don't think she's actually getting that she has an issue and she can't drink, at least not without some additional support and tools that she doesn't have right now. That's my thoughts, Your Honor.
Thank you. Carla, is there anything else you want to tell me?
Well, in Indiana, they're not doing anything because they're waiting for me to finish here. And then I am gonna have to do like classes and stuff like that. And about the refusal, it wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to. It was that, I just didn't get the message. And I do care. I really do care.
Well, I've known you since some of those MIPs when you were just a teenager. You remind me of a girl who I struggled with. You might even know her. Her name is Miranda. And she had several, like 5 MIPs, a couple of drunk drivings. And I had her in sobriety court, and I couldn't just get where I needed to get her. She kept driving and drinking. She also got arrested in Indiana. And finally, she just ended up doing about 180 days in jail. You have more family support than she had. Nice girl. Just immature and stubborn. It's a lot for someone your age to think I can't drink. Because it's fun. Your friends are doing it. You go out on weekends. You have fun until at some point it isn't fun anymore. You end up going to jail. But as Daniel said, you just sort of blasé about it, and then you just do what you want to anyway. But when you said to me at the very end, I do get it. I do get it. I'm hoping maybe you're starting to get it. We're not mad, more sad. I see people going toward the edge of the waterfall, and I can't grab them before they go over. And I've been here for a long time, longer than you've been alive, and seen lots of people squander their youth with alcohol. And this isn't good for your daughter. But you got some positives. You got a good job. You got health insurance for you and your daughter. You make a good hourly wage. Do you get overtime?
Yeah,
How many hours a week are you working?
10. I
Ten-
mean,
10 hours overtime?
60,
You working 60 hours a week?
yeah.
We're gonna have a hard time fitting weekends in here. We'll have to make it work. And I don't really want to do 30, 15 weekends. But I think that job is very important for you. It gives some stability. It gives you money that's your own. It gives health insurance for your daughter. And that's important. Are you getting any child support?
I haven't for more than a year.
Do you live with your parents?
Yes.
Well, you got that going for you, and so is your daughter. I'm sure she loves her grandparents. Well, I'm gonna take you off probation. I don't know what Indiana's gonna do. At some point, you're gonna get it and realize that it isn't fun anymore. I don't know what age that happens. 26 or however old you are probably isn't it. Had another young girl named Pauline who was a sweet young girl with a bad alcohol problem, with a genetic predisposition to alcohol. And last time I saw her, she's doing a lot better. But it's like I could scream at her or plead with her or threaten her or charm her, and she wasn't going to change it till she was ready to change it. Probation is revoked. I'm not very good at charming, but I really liked both of those girls. Still do. I just wish they would stay away from this. What are 12 days? Credit 0. Leaving 12 days to do on weekends. Waive all the remaining fines and costs. I'm off your back. You won't be testing. You won't be doing any treatment. I hope I don't. Now, you can't drive. You're on the driving suspended merry-go-round. And the irony of it is, this isn't a invitation. Your best chance of getting your license back is going into sobriety court, which means you'd have to get arrested again. And I certainly don't encourage that, but it's going to be very difficult for you to get your license. It's probably going to be revoked. But I'm not sure what they're going to do with that Indiana conviction. You seem like a genuinely nice person. I think you're a good mother, but this isn't good for you and it isn't good for her. So I want you to go with Daniel. He's going to schedule these weekends. 60 hours a week and living with your parents, you're probably doing pretty well financially, but 12 days doesn't get the message. I don't know. Daniel's 30-day recommendation is well-founded. I guess you can consider that as a gift. You didn't get it. 12 days is bad enough. All right, Ms. Sanchez, I hope I don't see you for a while.
Thank you.
Daniel, you got a hitch in your video.